Alright. One moment for OBS to catch up here. Alright, so, welcome everybody to Party Like It's 1453. We have a very simple tournament today. Several people have submitted fleets with a simple, singular goal. Kill the Stella Castellum. So, assuming that everyone is able to kill the Imperium's Stella Castellum, then whichever fleet has the least DP will win. Bit of a break from the usual format of PvP tournaments, where rather than creating a fleet best suited to kill another fleet, you're trying to find the most efficient way to destroy one of the strongest stations out there. But since there's not a lot to be said about the other fleet, we can just jump right into this. So our first fleet is from Rose Eleanor, Frontier Engineering. We have 6 tubes. It's a lot of DP. I don't think there's any way these don't win. I can see that these are very side-loaded, kinetic-focused armadas. They've got Vulcans for shooting down missiles, although only on one side. I don't know how well that's going to work out. Bunch of gyrojet drivers, Gauss cannons, so many hull mods. And there are 2 variants. One is just mirrored to the right, one's just mirrored to the left. IPDAI boosting up those Vulcans, insulated engine assembly, protecting the engines, armored weapon mounts, protecting the weapons from EMP, ITU further boosting the range on top of the Jantech targeting mast, resistant flux conduits to further protect against EMP, though I don't think that under AI control these Gramadas are going to make super good use of the venting boost. Automated repair unit for when weapons invariably are disabled anyways. Reinforced bulkheads for 52,000 points of hull between reinforced bulkheads and blast doors. Like, fucking hell. Solar shielding to reduce energy damage. ECCM to protect the gyrojet projectiles. And heavy armor to get up to 2,700 points of armor. Like I said, I don't think there's any way you fail to kill the Stella Castellum with 6 Gramadas. Let's take a quick look at the Stella Castellum before we get into this. Obviously, we have our big main body. This doesn't actually do anything. It's got our central hull mods, but there's nothing particularly interesting here. So we have a super combat module, Solus cannons, Telums, heavy pulses, sledge guns, rail guns, javelin ASMs, heavy ballistas, and no PD to speak of. Got built-in heavy armor, missile autoforge, advanced turret gyros, and reinforced emplacements. Weapon durability increased by 150%. Boosts projectile weapon range by 20%, but slows turret traversal by 50%, which probably isn't much of an issue with the advanced turret gyros. No, it's not. We have, I believe, 2 of these Magnum support citadels. These have Custos Defenders and Sagittarius autoguns, as well as Armageddon launchers. As well as Inferno bombers, Flamen interceptors, fighter chassis storage, so the replacement rate never goes down. A Tachyon comm booster, doubling the engagement range of the fighters and bombers. We have 2 extended support modules. Same things. We've got Funday MLRSs, sledge cannons, heavy pulsars, Arcus autocannons, Carnifex bombers, and Vicarious assault fighters. And then we have, finally, the heavy beam citadel with a light spear, ER particle cannons, and a photon beam cannons. So when that when the beam bastion orbits around, it's going to put out a lot of damage really fast. But let's see what our Gramadas are capable of doing. I think the big question here is how well the AI is able to, like, grasp which side it needs to be facing. Gramadas, unfortunately, very slow, liable to take a lot of punishment before they actually get within range. Oh my god. Triplex beam cannons on these, tribunal orbiters. We also have some shields orbiting around it with point defense repeaters. It looks like the tribunals also have the Caesar's system, allowing them to just shove the tubes away. A lot of fire coming out from the Groms against the fighters, and the tubes have already fluxed themselves out, struggling to approach thanks to those tribunals. But those defense modules are not holding up to the Groms very well. Holy shit, the light spear. It's already chewing through one of the Groms. Not one of the Groms, one of the Gramadas. Massive damage coming out of the station. Huge pressure on the Gramadas. One of them is taking a huge amount of punishment. None of them are advancing very effectively. They're just distracted by the fighters and shooting each other with their Groms. Huge problem, honestly. One of the emergency repairs going off on this Gramada over here. Emergency repair will give the Gramadas a huge amount of longevity in this fight. Putting some damage on one of the tribunals. Getting rid of the tribunal will allow the Gramadas to advance much more effectively without getting constantly shoved around. The shield modules are starting to thin out a little bit, but the station has more of them in reserve. Just deploys more. Tribunals taking huge damage. One of them goes down to the Groms. Beautiful stuff, but there's another one that's just been deployed. Shield modules still being thinned out. They're filling in, trying to maintain coverage, but whatever side of the orbit is facing the Gramadas just immediately overloads and gets thinned out by the Groms. Tribunal about to go down to gyrojets. Nope, Gauss Cannon gets it. Another Tribunal deployed. It's got a lot of Tribunals in reserve. Down to 4 shield modules. Another Tribunal down. Another one deployed. How many Tribunals can one station carry? One of the bastions has lost an armor module. Because, of course, this is a Star Fortress, so it does have ablative armor modules. Down to 3 shields. Still 3 Tribunals up. The Gramadas are well within range now, though, putting out huge amounts of fire. Not that they even need to with a loadout like this. Ultra long-range gyrojets, Groms, and Gauss cannons. They finally thinned out the Tribunals. Only 2 remain, and only 1 shield module is left. More armor modules being shed off of the bastions on the station. Huge kinetic DPS tearing into these modules. The last shield module is gone. Now it's just a DPS race of waiting for the Groms to chew through these modules. One of these bastions is about to pop, just outright. A few more hits should take it down. There it goes. One of the Armageddon bastions is down. The Light Spear bastion is still active, though. It's too fluxed out from the constant kinetic fire to actually shoot back, though. It is struggling. Photon beams getting off a couple of shots, but the Light Spear has been silenced by the constant gyrojet fire. Looks like more friendly fire from the Groms. No, outside of their range. There are still bombers coming out of the station trying to get passes, but the constant... Oh, the light spear fires! Tearing across the bow of one of the Gramadas, but they have so much hull, it just doesn't matter! Only one bastion remains. The light spear has been silenced. And there goes the last bastion. We're now just down to the main modules. And there's not really anything to say at this stage. The tubes have got it. It's just a matter of how long it will take. Groms doing terrific amounts of high explosive damage, massively chunking through this station. One of the support modules is down, leaving just the combat module and the remaining support module. Carnifex is continuing to fire off javelins, but without any real effect at this stage. The Vulcans are too effective. IPDAI doing big work. Just the one module left. There it goes. I don't think anybody should be surprised that 6 tubes is enough to defeat the Stella Castellum. However, this is far and away the largest fleet we have to see today. So I think this is a good baseline, a good control group to establish what can be done about the Stella Castellum. Our next fleet is Sicare versus Constantinople. Sicare has also gone for Gramadas. Some level 3 officers on the Gramadas, with level 1 officers on a pair of Akuklops. And let's take a look at these. So, for the Gramadas, we have two of them using Burst Fission Sea Whiz at strategic corners of the hull, dual Microfission Sea Whiz on the far side, as well as a Devastator Cannon and a bunch of Hauberks, and a Proximity Charge Launcher. On the broadside meant to face the station, we have Heavy Maulers and Steers. There's also, of course, a Squall up here in the front. ITU, heavy armor, armored weapon mounts, and reinforced bulkheads. Not quite as tanky as Rose's Gramadas, but close. Also a Zakrep Proximity Burst Autocannon, which may prove very good against those fighters. Meanwhile, for the Akuklops, we have a Yaokim Graviton Sweeper. Very exotic choice. 2 Yaokim Graviton Sweepers. Twin-linked Steers, more Hauberks and Proxy Charge Launchers. ITU, Hardened Shields, and Advanced Optics. 22,000 points of hull on these Akuklops, 43,000 on the Gramadas. Akuklops, of course, have actual shields, which is either going to be a huge asset or a huge liability. It's hard to say. Alright. The ballistas are already firing, but there's only the 2 heavy ballistas, so I doubt they'll provide meaningful pressure to ships with this much PD. Triplex beam cannons already firing off, Groms engaging these fighters. Akuklop firing its main gun against the incoming fighters too, and the fighters are just gone. The Fission Sea Whizzes will obliterate these fighters with unremitting violence. Luckily, the sledge cannons put down a lot of pressure, but they're not kinetic. The station may struggle to deal with these Akuklop's shields at range, depending on how well they're able to advance. right now, they do not appear to be advancing very well, which is a problem. It is possible that the tribunals are simply... Oh my god, the Yao Kims! The Yao Kims doing insanely massive amounts of kinetic damage. Light Spear firing at one of the Gramadas. Yao Kims firing off again, but the fighters managed to absorb most of it. That one sweep from those twin Yao Kims overloading like 4 shield modules and a tribunal. Remarkable stuff. Unfortunately, the tribunals are able to keep these capital ships at bay very effectively until they're able to chew through those until they're able to chew through those tribunals. I'm not sure how they plan to approach this position. Another sweep from the Yao Kims overloads another tribunal, but there's just no follow through. They're too focused on the shield modules. One of the shield modules is down, but another one is simply deployed. Yao Kim's sweeping across again. One of the Gramadas looks like it burned up to get involved ASAP. One of the tribunals pops, presumably due to Grom fire. Another one has been deployed. Yao Kim's firing off again from the right side Aquaclop. Very, very powerful kinetic weapons, especially against a massive target like this. The tribunal getting torn apart. Missiles coming in for the Gramada actually find their mark because these broadside Gramadas are very light on PD on their facing side, so that they can maximize the number of steers that they bring to bear. Aquaclop's both very high in flux. It's basically on the Gramadas to finish this off right now. The Aquaclops are tanking an impressive amount of fire, and the shield modules are starting to very dramatically thin out. If they can just get rid of those tribunals, it'll be a big win. Gramada burns one of its emergency repairs. All 3 tribunals still up and active, though. Trying to put some pressure on the Light Spear module, but you need to be taking care of those tribunals. Light Spear firing against the Aquaclop. Holy shit, the damage coming out of that thing! Bores straight through the bow of the Aquaclop. Continuing to put pressure on the tribunals, but just falling slightly short of actually finishing them off every time. Alright, there goes one of them. I believe we are out of replacement tribunals. So these 2 are all that is left. One of the Aquaclops very low. Emergency repair popped on the other Gramada. It is still taking a huge chunk of damage. Oh my god. The Jean Capitals actually appear to have lost their nerve. Pulling back a little bit as this Gramada expends another emergency repair. I believe that is its last emergency repair. Aquaclop does not have any emergency repairs, and with its hull so low, it is in rough shape. The other Aquaclop taking a bunch of pressure. I don't know if they can actually do this. That Light Spear module is still active. And when that Light Spear comes back around, there's a very real chance that it just slaps one of these capital ships out of existence. The Gramadas are out of range of their own steers, only using the Groms, and that's a huge hit to their DPS. They really need that DPS if they're going to stand a chance against this station. Gramada continuing to pull back as the station just pounds it with sledges. Aquaclop being very careful with its damaged bow, trying not to point it, but it's got a spinal gun. It's got to. It needs that main gun on target. They are terrified of this station. They desperately want to get within range and start hammering it, but the station is just putting out too much fire in retaliation. One of the support modules has overloaded. They could put some bombs on it and do huge damage if they would just focus. We could be seeing one of the Armageddon modules does pop. The light spear is fluxed out currently, not able to fire its main gun. It might not need it though. This Octoclop is so high on flux. Ramada getting stuck in again, putting pressure on the light spear module. They do seem to recognize that that light spear module is going to make or break this entire fight. If they cannot stop it, it is over. We have gone to timeout. All of the ships are going to reckless. This might be what they need to finally push and take down this station. This Octoclop is definitely going to go down here. It is so high on flux, it has so little left. Ramada just absorbing blow after blow after blow as the Octoclops tank hits with their shields. Octoclop has finally overloaded, but suddenly just all the pressure on it evaporates. There's nothing there to capitalize on it. A couple of sledges belatedly remember that it's there, and it's enough to finish off the Octoclop. The light spear module is down. It's coming down to the wire, but I think the Gramadas have got it. Chewing through these support modules, if they can get these fighters off the board, it'll get a major source of damage out of their way. Because these bombers have been hitting these Gramadas very hard this entire fight. The Gramadas are just so light on point defense, they don't have an answer to the missiles. The other Octoclop is down. It is now just the Gramadas. One of the Gramadas is being blocked by the wreckage of the Octoclop, and the other is standing alone against the Stella Castellum. But I don't think it needs help. It's just chunking through the armor plating of this support module. And there's the other Gramada moving into range. The drifting wreckage of these armor modules is blocking some of its weapons, though. Double-edged blade, it also manages to block some of the incoming javelins. Gramadas are just hammering away at it with their drums. And I think that this is a DPS race that the Stella loses. I genuinely don't think the Gramadas can lose a DPS race with this much. I stand corrected. Holy shit, the damage coming out on that thing. We might see one of the Gramadas go down. Unless it can take care of that support module very quickly, the wind might just go down to the sustained sledge fire. The Fission Sea Whizzes have been consistently very underwhelming against these javelins, getting huge damage with every volley. Oh my god, the Gramada is so low, but it's still fighting, still shooting. There it goes! One of the Gramadas is down. It's one Gramada against the entire station. Another armor module comes off of the station, but that combat module still has almost all of its armor, and the Gramada just can't figure out what it wants to target. It wants to try and take out that Armageddon module, but I think it needs to try and take out that hangar module. Another armor module pops off of the hangar. There goes the Armageddon. It's coming down to the wire. Now it's trying to engage the combat module. Take out the hangar! Please! The hangar! It's firing its kinetics at the hangar. There it goes! The hangar goes down. It's just the Gramada squaring off against the combat module. But with so much of the armor left on the combat module, I'm not sure how the Gramada swing this. The station's guns have fallen silent. What? No, there they go again. Returning fire once more. And I think they're going to take the Gramada. Those heavy pulse lasers doing huge chunks of damage. There goes the Gramada. so close. It could not have been closer. Sikair narrowly, by a single volley of heavy maulers, fails to kill the Stella Castellum. So up next we have Lightning Cutie with the minimum effort horizontal fleet. 4 Invictuses. So, Invictuses. We have the Shoe, Brick, Custom, and Fodder Invictus. The Shoe has a pair of Hellbores, Mark 9s, Squalls, and converted hangars with Zephoses, armored weapon mounts, reinforced bulkheads, blast doors, expanded missile racks. Really just siege platforms, these things. It remains to be seen how well they're able to cope with all the fighters and missiles, though. Then we have the Brick, which has a pair of Devastators for fighters, a Hezek Shredder, and a Storm Needler, as well as a pair of Hurricanes, armored weapon mounts, reinforced bulkheads, blast doors, ARU, and EMR. Then we have the Custom, which is the same as the Brick, with Squalls and more vents. And then we have the Fodder, which trades the Hezek for a 3rd Devastator, brings back the converted hangar for a pair of Dirk support fighters, adds Locusts, and trades the EMR for insulated engine assembly. We, of course, also have officers on all of them. Impact mitigation and damage control across the board. One of those is definitely not a Gamma Core, and the other one is just a cat. Oh, right, the canister flak. The canister flak is going to be essential to stop those Vicariouses, but I don't know if it's going to be able to help against the missiles. So, artillery barrage coming out from the Shoe. Those Mark 9s are going to be a menace for the Stella Castellum if it's able to focus them properly. Devastator's trying to chew through the shield modules. Shield modules just not very strong, I think we've seen. More artillery barrages coming out from the LiDAR arrays. Jesus Christ, those Storm Needlers. Just a constant stream of bullets once they're LiDAR enhanced. Light Spear already chewing through the armor of that Invictus into the hull. Terrifying stuff. What kind of damage does that Light Spear put out? Anyways, just raw energy damage. One of the Invictuses is probably not long for this world already, simply because the Light Spear is so goddamn powerful. Hezek's moving in, trying to hammer that Light Spear, take it off the board. A wise call. That Light Spear is a menace. It has already put one of the 4 Invictuses on borrowed time. They need to take out that thing massively, like immediately. A fucking sap. Chewing through the armor modules around the Light Spear. That Invictus is on a mission to get rid of that goddamn thing. Invictus is down. That Light Spear did too much damage, chewed straight through the armor. There is no remorse for the Invictus with its armor gone like that. Tribunal's still active. The Light Spear has pivoted away. Those triplex beam cannons could be a problem. Not as much of a problem as the Light Spear, but nonetheless. Fire now coming out onto the Armageddon modules. Tribunal is just being a massive fucking nuisance. Devastators come out trying to chew through the armor modules with, honestly, remarkable luck. Two of the Invictuses have had their armor breached, and the Light Spear hasn't even gotten involved. I don't think the Invictuses can do this. The sheer power of the Stella Castellum is just too much for even the Invictus. Huge damage onto this Armageddon module. One of the Invictuses is within knife fighting distance. But once again, I think the problem here just ends up being the constant stream of anti-ship missiles. Takes out an Armageddon module. It looks like our triple Devastator is about to go down. It forced an overload from the Light Spear module, but the torpedoes, too much. Without any point defense, there's just no answer to the torpedoes. It seems like an underappreciated facet of Rose's fleet was that although the ships were very focused on broadsides, they did not neglect their point defense. And the Shu Invictus is going to stand alone against the Stella Castellum. Probably without much luck, although it does have a terrifying amount of firepower, it will be extremely susceptible to these torpedo barrages. Yeah, just taking huge missile volleys straight on the chin. Not really what you want to be doing. You are on a time limit by armor. Trying to chew through some of these stations, some of these modules, but the Invictuses just took too much damage from the Light Spear and the missiles too fast. Oh, the hull. The hull slowly creeping down on this Invictus. It just doesn't have any recourse. Theoretically, the Invictus a very powerful siege platform, but without any Devastators in the turrets, it just doesn't have an answer to all these missiles. And so the Stella Castellum navigates the fight, losing only one combat module. Up next, we have Arthur versus the Stella Castellum. Arthur has a 150 DP fleet, the smallest that we have seen so far, by a pretty big margin. These are Celestial Mount Circle ships. A mod I have not played with before, so I'm not familiar with them off the top of my head. We have three Tianchi class monitor battleships. Sorry, 8K HD monitor battleships. They are mounting Sling ADS pods for point defense. Again, point defense very essential as we've established. Crystal resonant splinter guns for anti-armor, a Blaz missile heavy autoloader and a Squall, as well as a Locust, a singular Zook plasma torpedo on the bow, as well as a single Jezebel spike torpedo on the bow. And we have Spirit Force funnels, use low energy ion cannons and low energy phase lances. Okay. Neferi heavy interceptors from the Cadre Theocracy. Of course, Jaguar interceptor missiles, Janissary SSRMs, Hallberg Seawiz, Joshua AAMs. And they have Fortress Shield. So let's take a look at some of these hull mods, because I'm not familiar with this mod. I do gotta look at the hull mods, for my own sake. So, high priority shield generator. While the shield is raising, the rate of fire of all non-missile weapons will be reduced to a minimum of 50% according to the unfolded area, and the upkeep flux of shield will be reduced to a minimum of 0. So like, the shield upkeep scales up as the shield unfolds, but also raising the shield immediately lowers rate of fire until the shield is fully deployed. Home for Spirit system increases funnel's weapon range to the average non-missile and non-PD weapon range of the ship, depending on hull size. Each loss of funnel reduces flux dissipation, top speed, and maneuverability. Okay. Increases the damage of DEM by 20%. Not sure what it means by DEM. And Peach Garden Guardian. This ship serves for the Legion of Peach Garden Guardian and is the strongest weapon against the invaders. The higher standard of construction increases the ship's hull integrity and armor value by 10%, and due to the special coating, its effective sensor profile is reduced by 20%. Okay, so these are a special variant that are effectively like 14th Battle Group ships. Okay. And then we've got Hardened Shields, Expanded Missile Racks, Integrated Targeting Unit, ECCM, Defensive Targeting Array, and Missile Autoloader. Missile Autoloader could be interesting. Gives a lot of longevity to these torpedoes. And Defensive Targeting Array seems like a good call with the Neferis. Just keep them around as air superiority. ECCM, very good with all these missiles. Expanded Missile Racks, also very good. Alright, so a good defense versus the Stella Castellum. So, thus far, the only fleet to successfully defeat the Stella Castellum has been the 420 DP 6-tube fleet. Which has been a very interesting dynamic to this tournament, that we obviously had a control group fleet that just said, okay, well this is easily going to be enough firepower to take down the ship, or the station, so I'm gonna do that and hope that nobody else is able to do it. And then everyone else has, like, tried to like, cut the budget down to the bone, and they've just been slapped for it. However, I think that these Tianchis are very much a wild card. They're taking their point defense very seriously. Outside of the light spear, the Stella Castellum, very dependent on its missiles. Armageddon launchers, Carnifex bombers. These ships could just be purpose-built to take on something like this. With access to Fortress Shield, they should be able to very easily absorb hits from... Oh my god, friendly fire from the Light Spear, ripping through one of its own tribunals. Impact mitigation, missile spec, and gunnery implant officers across them as well. But Hardened Shield should allow them to absorb a lot of punishment from these beams. Which promises to be very, very good here. Thus far, the Tianchis are doing a really good job of holding these missiles and fighters at arm's length, but that is only half the fight. If they try and fight a war of attrition against Byzantium, they will lose. There simply is not a way for them to outlast a goddamn station. However, the missiles have taken down one of the tribunals, forcing out a replacement tribunal. Looks like we're starting to take some armor damage on one of the Tianchis. The other Tianqi's starting to get up there in shields. Triplex beams able to just fire with impunity as soon as the shields come down. This fleet is really banking on its missiles being able to chew through the station and its defenses. Which, honestly, against these tribunals, it's doing a pretty nice job of. However, I don't know if this is a sustainable plan in the long term. Oh my god, the crystal resonance guns are guided? I don't remember that. Holy shit. So these are all guided weapons on these Tianqi's. One of the Tianqi's getting very high on Bitflux. It really needs to vent. Because I do not think that the Stella Castellum will be kind enough to shift pressure onto the other two. Trying to chew through these shield modules. They are the first barrier protecting the Stella Castellum from any attackers. They've been doing a very good job chewing through these tribunals. I just worry they haven't been doing a very ammo-efficient job of chewing through them, which may bite them later in the fight if they run out of missiles. Light spear firing at one of the Tianqi's. It's really impressive that the Tianqi's are just able to absorb hits from the light spear like that. Two of the Tianqi's very high on flux. The funnels are doing a big job of keeping stuff away. That many phase lances is huge for keeping these fighters and tribunals at bay. One of the Tianqi's has been forced to lower its shields, taking huge hull damage. Light spear just drills straight through the bow. The first major hull damage any of these ships have taken, and they've already chewed through all of the tribunals and most of the drones. It's been a big one. It's been a big fight for the Tianqi so far. They have actually made very remarkably good progress. But it is still a race against their own ammunition stores. We're starting to see some Jezebels coming out. Now that they are through the shield modules, they're starting to turn their munitions towards chunking down these armor modules, and they sure are chunking them. Wow! Look at that damage. Lots of hull damage immediately coming off on this Armageddon module. Probably not long for this world as the Tianqi simply focus their fire. Down it goes. Ooh, I don't know what that ability that the combat module is firing. Oh, is that the overload that some of the Imperium troops have? Jesus Christ. The Tianqi's just, again, shrugging off all of this fire from the station, despite being very high on flux. The station just lacks a good answer to ships with strong shields like this. Another Armageddon module goes down. I think the Tianqi's might just take this without any losses. We are now in timeout. The Tianqi's will now behave as aggressively as possible. Already putting lots of hull damage on the primary combat module. Light spear module probably going to be going down shortly. There goes the armor off of the light spear module. station armor coming off of the support module. Oh god, that light sphere module does not know. Oh, the Zook plasma torpedo makes contact, taking a huge chunk out of the module and tearing off its last armor. The Stella Castellum has not done any significant damage since that light spear burn on one of the Tianjis. I think that the Celestial Mouse Circle might actually just take this. I think they might just take this. Like, they are still firing off missiles. They evidently still have them. There's some Blazes getting involved. With the armor stripped off of these modules, the Blazes are going to be capable of doing huge damage. Locust still coming out. Crystals still going in. Squalls, of course, still have ammo. Looks like they still have reloads on their Zooks as well. That was one of the support modules just popped. And now I think that's the combat module about to pop there. Come on. Just a little bit more. I believe in you, Tianjis. And there they go. I feel like this fight has really affirmed what I was saying in the last fight, that I think it's very important against the station to have a good answer to all of the missiles it puts out. Because that's the big thing that that's one of the big things that these Tianjis have brought to the table, is that they have all of these sling ADSs, and it just gives them a lot of protection against the swarms of missiles. Of course, the powerful shields are also doing a lot of work here, as are the strong drones. Yeah! My anvil, my shield, my wall. A good defense has conquered the Stella Castellum. Up next we have Equalizer with two-sided 2Bs. These are some really stripped down tubes. Oh boy. We have two Dramatas. A Hezek Shredder battery, which could be good against all of those fighters. Eagle saturation point defenses. Looks like 5 of those. A good answer to all of the missiles. A smattering of Stiers and Zakreps. Armored weapon mounts. Integrated targeting unit, advanced turret gyros, reinforced bulkheads, heavy armor, flux distributor, aux thrusters, blast doors, and solar shielding. Ugh. This is actually very similar to how the Ottomans took Constantinople, by throwing Pringles cans at it. I think one of the big things that brought down the tubes last time was a lack of point defense. However, the Akuklops did a lot of work there. So unless these officers have, like, system specialization... fun fact, guys, system specialization officers on tubes get an extra use of emergency repairs. So... we'll have to see what kind of skills they have. Damage control, impact mitigation, ballistic mastery, and gunnery implants. Ooh. This is going to be a tricky one for the tubes. This may be their greatest challenge yet. Yeah, they have the missile situation answered very nicely. I worry that they just don't have the firepower to bore through those triplexes, though. Those triplex beam cannons are going to be a problem, because that's just a lot of energy damage coming out onto the Gramadas. One of the Gramadas is already lost its belt armor, it looks like. Yeah, it's already lost belt armor on one side and is taking hull damage to the triplexes. They really need to deal with those tribunals immediately. But I just don't think they're going to be aggressive enough to do it. We're probably going to see an emergency repair out from this Gramada immediately. Which combos won so far? So far, the only winners have been the CMC fleet and 6 Gramadas. The Groms do a lot of damage, but they just aren't ideal for dealing with these tribunals. There's the emergency repairs coming out. Oh, the Groms just missed the tribunal entirely. That's just sad. F in the chat for that one. Gramada very intent on facing its damaged belt against the station. Got an actual Grom hit on the tribunal there, but not enough to finish it off. God, so much damage coming out of this Gramada. It's probably going to have to spend another emergency repair. Oh my god, the tribunals keep overloading, but the Gramadas just fail to finish them off. And the Stella Castellum has so many spare tribunals. They've successfully answered the problem of the missiles with Eagle saturations, but they're just losing their belt armor to the sustained triplex fire. The Gramadas also have the advantage of having insane range. Genuinely, some of the longest range that you can achieve without just outright having an advanced targeting core. They're very good artillery platforms. With access to steers, which are very long range, small kinetics, and built-in Groms, which are, I think, some of the longest range ballistics in the game, putting out massive amounts of high explosive damage per shot. Gramadas are theoretically just the ultimate artillery platform. But just 2 Gramadas, they don't have the punch that they need to chew through this station fast enough. How am I? I'm doing alright. A little bit tired, but better than I was yesterday, when nothing at all happened. Don't worry about it. Yeah, they're consistently... These ships are consistently able to lower the shields of the tribunals and the modules, because they just have so many steers, but there's just no follow-through. They're not able to put out enough high explosive damage with enough precision to actually finish the job on these tribunals. So they're wasting a lot of kinetic DPS, overloading the tribunals, and then doing nothing else to them. I believe this Armada is completely out of emergency repairs, so we're probably going to see it go down soon. What faction are these capitals from? These are from Jean Empire. The Armada's just struggling to even approach the station because of those tribunals that they just don't have an answer to. It's just a death by 1,000 cuts to these sledge cannons. Just little bits of chip damage onto the tribunals, but they don't stay overloaded for long enough. We're now on timeout, and the Armadas still haven't successfully approached the station. There are still active tribunals. One of the tribunals goes down, and it looks like that's the last of the Stella Castellum's tribunal reserves. But there goes one of the Armadas. It's very clear that the Armada does not have this. So it's just a game of how many modules can it take down before it dies. I think these have been very strong Armada fits, but just the two of them, they don't really have enough follow-through to take down the station. That is the last of the tribunals. The Armada is now able to approach the station unopposed. We've seen that one Armada is not enough to take down this station before, though. And it's so close, the Hezek is actually fluxing it out, so the Roms aren't able to fire. Oh my god, that piece of debris stopping the light spear for a precious second, but the light spear drills through it, straight into the belt of the tube. Big damage on the tube. It's not having fun. Gonna burn its last emergency repair. I'm impressed it still had both of its emergency repairs this late in the fight. But that Hezek is just locking down its flux, trying to keep the fighters away. Struggling to bring those Groms to bear, but it only needs a shot every once in a while. A single Grom hit will shatter the armor on basically anything it hits, and then the massive frag damage from the Hezek should be sufficient to finish the job. Like, just look at it chewing through that module. Down it goes. Armada now squaring off against the primary combat module of the station. Still standing defiant. Very effectively keeping these torpedoes at bay with its Eagle Saturation PD. Another emergency repair coming out. Okay, so the limit is 3, not 2. I was mistaken. Looks like it's going to take the other Armageddon module. Big damage from the Hezek. Takes another armor module off, but does not quite clean the module itself. Focus on the module. There it goes! 2 modules down to 1 fucking Armada. I want to believe! The light spear is coming back into range, though. An existential threat to any armor tank. The Hezek recognizes that the light spear is the problem here, immediately pivoting fire onto the light spear module. I don't think it has enough kinetic damage to bore through the shields of that light spear before the main gun can be brought to bear, though. Can it stop the main gun from actually firing is the question. Oh, triple photons hitting the Gramada. Still standing, though. Chewing through the exposed hull. Now that it's through the armor module, there's not much left. The light spear is pointing, but it doesn't have the flux to fire. Keep the flux high and you can do this. Down the light spear module goes. 3 bastions to 1 Gramada. What an incredible showing. The Gramada's not long for this world. From hell's heart, it stabs at thee, though. It refuses to go quietly into the night. It's trying to take one of the support modules down with it, too. It might even get it. No. Down goes the Gramada. Whew. What an incredible showing from that Gramada, but it was simply not enough. So, up next we have Alien Space Kappa. This is our last match for the day. Alien Space Kappa with minimum effort product. These are also our first cadre ships of the day. So let's take a look at the Noob Tube Gramadas. We have Clarity Hellbores. Increased range and speed, but reduced damage. Could be very good. Not sure how much it needs it alongside the Groms, though. Joshua AAMMLs could be very good. Again, dealing with those fighters, big deal. Massive banks of Hauberks should be useful to keep the missiles at bay. And heavy Jezzails. I don't know if the heavy Jezzails are going to do quite enough damage, though. A Mjolnir cannon on the front, probably an alright play. Both of these Gramadas are the same. They've got some Eagles and Burst Fissions as well for additional point defense. ITU, Armored Weapon Mounts, Reinforced Bulkheads, Resistant Flux Conduits, Solar Shielding, and ECCM Package. ECCM will be very good for the heavy Jezzails, though it is a lot of ordnance points to be spending on 4 heavy Jezzails, especially when only 2 of them are going to be able to fire at a time. Reinforced bulk, heavy armor, advanced turret gyros, and IPDAI. IPDAI for all these Hauberks is probably going to make them just an outright menace. In fact, I think that between the Eagles and the Hauberks, the IPDAI is going to be such a big boon that he probably could have afforded to swap some of these Hauberks for, like, a direct fire weapon, like Stiers or light Jezzails. Nonetheless, backing them up, we have a pair of Sheardals, more Sling ADSs and Eagle Saturations. We know that these are pretty good. Jericho LRMs, expanded deck crew, and a pair of Schnurk Desolators. Schnurks could prove pretty alright if they're able to survive to get within range. But against a station, that is a tall order. Schnurks, of course, are a non-missile-based bomber, firing just a massive energy plasma shot. But the bombers themselves are still quite vulnerable to the oppressive range of the Stella Castellum. Missiles immediately coming out, and the hauberks just devour those spray of torpedoes. Nothing missile-based is going to do anything to these Armadas. You can quote me on that one. Level 4 officers on the Armadas: impact mitigation, ballistic mastery, systems expertise. Remember what I said about systems expertise and extra use of emergency repairs, giving massive longevity to these Armadas. Polarized armor could be useful as well. Armadas may need that extra longevity too, with one of them already having both sides of its belt armor breached. Starting to immediately thin out the shield modules. Good stuff, good stuff. Light spear firing, boring straight through it. Nearly cuts the ship in half, and it has to immediately do emergency repairs. But the light spear has malfunctioned, mercifully sparing the Armada from the wrath of the Stella Castellum. Have those Schnurks done anything yet? We can see them over here going for that tribunal. Will they actually get close enough to fire, though? Yes! But it just gets absorbed by shields. Jezzail's firing insistently, but the advantage of Jezzail's is their extreme range, not their actual damage. Friendly fire from the Groms against one of the Armadas. Again, the Tribunals, I think, are going to be the big problem here. Schnurks maneuvering to engage a Tribunal again, but the Tribunal is already too far away for them to reach. I think we're just going to see a repeat of the last fight with regards to these Tribunals, where the Armadas have the power to take care of them, but just refuse to focus it. Schnurks making another pass to Tribunal as it orbits away faster than they can approach it. And once again, they're just torn apart by the Armageddon modules. The shield modules are thinning out very rapidly, at least. Some good hits from the Mjolnir on that Tribunal, but does not actually go down. Polarized armor going to be going very hard, I believe. You don't recall this, polarized armor affects soft flux or hard flux only. Because if it's hard flux, that may just be a huge misplay. I want to see those Tribunals pop. Come on. You will not be able to approach that station as long as those Tribunals are active. This Armada, its bow armor is basically gone to those pulsars. Unfortunately, the light spear module is back within range. Oh, the Mjolnir takes out one of the Tribunals, and a replacement has immediately been deployed. Immediately, one of the new Tribunals overloads, taking big damage from the Mjolnir, but there's no follow-through, and so it just gets away. Schnurk's finally firing on the station itself. Oh, another Tribunal about to go down to the Mjolnirs, and it just keeps firing. Just leads its target a little bit more. Down it goes! Another reserve Tribunal deployed. That's forced this very damaged Tribunal back to the front. It might just go down here, which would be a big pick. Down it goes. Out comes another reserve Tribunal. They're doing a good job of chewing through the Tribunals this time. Another tribunal goes down, and it's out of reserve tribunals. Which means that we are finally going to be able to start approaching the station properly. The Gramadas have absorbed such an insane amount of punishment that the carriers are actually able to hang back in relative safety and simply launch bomber waves. We're already seeing damage onto the Armageddon modules. Taking out the Armageddon modules will be a big boon for those Schnurks. Schnurks get off a volley on the Armageddon module, but do not survive to return to their carrier. Godspeed, you brave sons of bitches. I don't know if this Gramada is out of emergency repairs. It looks like it might be, because it's just taking a lot of hull damage. And it just hasn't made any response to it yet. This Gramada definitely not out. Fires off an emergency repair as its hull starts to get low. Schnurks take off the armor module on the Armageddon module. It's a big hit. We are now in time out. That means these carriers are going to stop hanging back, and the Schnurks are probably going to stop being quite as useful, which is a big problem. Those Schnurks are just entering the phase of the fight where they're very, very capable of doing something. Gramada just gets bored through by the light spear, unfortunately. And now there is only one Gramada standing alone against the Stella Castellum, which still even has a fucking tribunal active. All of its modules are active. There's even still a shield. Oh! Big hit on that Armageddon module from the Schnurks. The tube just isn't leveraging its weapons effectively right now. With its bow on, it's not able to use any of its broadside weapons. It might take out that last tribunal, though. Down it goes. Here come the Schnurks looking for another pass on those bastions. A strong hit on the light spear module. More Schnurks coming in for the light spear. No, they're coming in for the heavy support module. Tube just not broadsiding at all. Huge problem for its combat effectiveness to just not be using its rear Grom. But I guess that Mjolnir is so flux hungry it wouldn't be able to use the rear Grom anyways. With one of the tubes gone, the carriers are now starting to take real pressure. And the tube is no longer able to engage the station because of the corpse of its sister ship. Carrier's getting very low on CR, tube still not able to engage the station. The station just has nothing to direct its wrath at except these carriers. One of the carriers is just down. Half of the Schnurks are gone. And I don't think the other carrier will be long for this world. And as the Gramada emerges from behind the wreck of the other tube, the full wrath of the Stella Castellum immediately comes down on it. Huge hull damage instantly. I don't think we're going to see the same heroic last stand we did last round. Oh my god, the tube is going to ram it! No, it stops just short. It might manage to take down one of the Armageddon modules, if nothing else. No, down it goes. No! It takes down the Armageddon module! They do manage a single module off the station. And now it's just the, Sherdal against these fighters, and it will not survive. Vicarious is coming in, looking for the kill, and down it goes. And that is it. Only 2 fleets were able to overcome the defenses of Byzantium. The Frontier Engineering, 6 tubes. Very obvious one. I don't think there's nobody gets any points for predicting that that one would win. I'm gonna be real with y'all. And then a good defense. The smallest fleet in the entire tournament. Now, before we call it here, I have been asked to do a quick exhibition match. So let me set that up real quick. All right. All right. Oh, I have to save it. Right. The minimum effort horizontal fleet versus tube. Who will win? Akuclops or Invictuses? Hold on, I need to get a drink. This is why I have a mini fridge under my desk. Okay. All right. So, these were some pretty good tubes in action, though they were very lacking in point defense. The Akuclops, very good against shields, but there's no shields in this fleet. Of course, the Akuclops do have their built-in high explosive spinal weapon, which could carry them very nicely here. The Groms have the potential to do massive damage to these Invictuses if they're able to leverage both of their Grom batteries effectively. Just immediately trading shots between the Tube and the Invictus. The Tube has instantly bored through the armor of the Invictus, but is in return already taking hull damage. Face down with 2 Invictuses, the Armada needs to pull back a little bit, get some breathing room, where it can leverage its Groms in more relative safety. It's going to pop its emergency repair in just a second as 2 LiDAR barrages come out on it immediately. The Invictuses are maneuvering very aggressively. There's the emergency repair. The Armada has already chewed through the armor of both Invictuses. Massive high explosive damage from these ships coming in very handy. As well as the huge amount of hull. By comparison, the Invictuses are just not as well equipped to chew through this kind of concentrated armor. Using primarily Devastators and Hezeks. The only one really well equipped to chew through the tubes is, of course, the Shu with its twin Hellbores. Groms slowly chewing away at these Invictuses. The Invictuses need to move more aggressively and take down these Aquiclops if they want to survive. They need to swiftly put pressure on the tubes. One of these Invictuses is already about to go down to the sustained Grom fire. It cannot be overstated just how oppressive these Groms are against the Invictus. Aquiclops not long for this world. One of the Invictuses has already gone down. And both of the Aquiclops are still intact. Without the Aquiclops down, there's just too much meat standing between the Invictuses and the tubes. One of the Aquiclops finally goes down, and the Invictus is trying to put another full barrage down on this Gramada, doing some good damage, but we're going to see that emergency repair pop in just a second here. Yao Kim doing some decent damage to the exposed hull of the Invictus. Is a very large target. There's the emergency repair, but the Endless Torrent is down. And they're focusing on the other Gramada, which still has all of its emergency repairs. It's just not what you want to be doing here. It's not effective. Burn Drive coming in. Close in with the Invictus. There's still one more emergency repair on this Gramada, but I don't think the Invictus can put enough damage down to force it out. Oh, big hits to the belt, but the Gramada just doesn't even recognize it. It has so much hull, it doesn't even register as a blip on the health bar. Oh, this poor Invictus. They're trying to put fire on the Gramadas, but truly, the Gramadas are one of the strongest ships in the sector. Down goes the Invictus, and now only one remains. The Gramada simply closes in, smelling blood in the water. It's going to finish this with style. Down goes the brick. Tube loses only a single ship, but for two dedicated siege fleets squaring off against each other, probably not surprising that it went that way. Alright, well, congratulations to our winner, Arthur, with a good defense, and our second place winner, as in the only other person who defeated the Stella Castellum, Rose Eleanor with Frontier Engineering. Thank you all for joining me. I stream Starsector normally, of course, and I'll be back later this evening to start a new run of that. If you are interested in that, I will post it up in the Stream Bulletins channel when I go live. I also have a Discord and a Patreon, with links down below, if you're interested in either of those. But yes, thank you all for joining me. Congratulations to our winners. Have a wonderful day.